My name is Kyle McIntyre. I'm the Vice President of UDTJ, one of the social justice organizations. You may have heard of us. I am going to, I would welcome everyone on this somewhat hot day, but I don't feel like people are feeling very enthusiastic right now. There's not much to be enthusiastic about right now, so I'm just going to get right into the speeches. We actually have our Congresswoman, Mary Gay Scanlon, here, came all the way from Washington, D.C. to be here with us today. So I'm going to hand the mic off to them and begin.
Okay, thank you all for being here today. I want to first acknowledge the fear, the anger, the disillusionment that I think we're all feeling that the Supreme Court of the United States, which we count on to protect our rights and freedoms, for the first time ever, has taken away a right. Our daughters will have fewer rights than we do. I mean, it is stunning. I was in DC today. We were working on the gun law, such as it is. Woo! So we made some progress there, but in between votes, 70 members of Congress marched over to the Supreme Court to express our displeasure with what had just happened. So in the words of Speaker Pelosi, the time now is not to agonize, but to organize. We have to tell the world that the American people are not okay with this decision. We're not okay with government-mandated pregnancy, because that's what this is. We are not okay with politicians telling women what they can or cannot do, when they can or cannot have children, and what they have to do with respect to reproductive health. It's not okay. And we're here to say it's not okay what the Supreme Court, and particularly Justice Thomas, is saying is going to happen to the rest of American privacy rights, and that includes contraception, gay marriage, interracial marriage, a whole host of things that as Americans we have a right to expect that we can make those decisions. So while today's decision is devastating, we cannot despair, okay? This is where we have to organize. We need to elect officials at the federal level who will vote for the Women's Health Protection Act. We've already passed it in the House. We need to get it through the Senate. We need to vote for federal officials who can rebalance the Supreme Court. And we need to vote for state officials who are going to protect our reproductive rights and our privacy rights here at home. Here in Pennsylvania, we are, unfortunately, yet again, ground zero, but we also have the greatest opportunities. We have wonderful candidates who we can elect to the State House and the State Senate. We have a critical election for governor, because we know that our current legislature legislature's ambition is to become Texas, and the only thing stopping that from happening is our governor. So we need to elect Josh Shapiro for governor. And we need to elect John Fetterman to the Senate. Because a critical piece of this is being able to pass some damn legislation through the Senate and deal with the court. So thank you all for being here. Let's get going.
Our next speaker will be Jennie Mara from the 165 State Rep District of Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm sure like all of you, I am sad and I am mad as hell that this is the reality we woke up to today. This morning, I buried my 94-year-old great-grandmother. She was born in 1927. And as we were at her funeral, this news broke. And I was devastated to think that my daughter, who's going to be born next month, will have the same medical freedoms that my great-grandmother had in 1927, which is to say, not at all. This morning I read that Senator Manchin was alarmed that the Supreme Court made this decision. I'm alarmed that a U.S. Senator got fooled by the two candidates that he appointed to the Supreme Court. And let's be very honest. The party that's pushing this is not pro-life. If they were, we would have paid family leave, we would have affordable child care, we would have a long list of things that we are fighting for in Harrisburg. And so while I know today is hard and we are sad and upset, we must organize. We must make this the election issue of 2022 and beyond, because we have to vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. So take today to be sad, to grieve, but find a candidate, find a pro-choice candidate to support. Your votes will make a difference. I took out a pro-life Republican in 2018 by 500 votes. And I was a first-time candidate. So if you are not backing someone, find someone. If you live in a district where you're represented by a pro-life candidate, run for office yourself. The only way to take this back is to change it ourselves. So thank you so much for being here tonight. The fight continues. Thank you.
Next, I will be calling up Gina Curry from the, BA 164th.
All right. It's good to see everybody here today. It's good to see everybody here today. I stand before you as a black woman who is furious about this situation because of what's going on in our country with maternal health care. I am heartbroken and disturbed following today's court decision that changes the entire nation and nature of women's health care. This is a tragic and dangerous day in our nation's history. Reversing Roe versus Wade will not end abortions, but will in turn have severe consequences on low-income, marginalized, and most specifically, Black and brown women and families throughout our country. Abortion bans lead to worse health outcomes for pregnant women, pregnant people, and babies, with increased rates of maternal mortality and financial hardships that harm families. The court's decision means a woman's choice to decide her own health care needs is now up to each individual state. This decreases equity and leaves a person's zip code. How many of us have been fighting for zip code issues with education? How many of us have been fighting for zip code issues with real estate? Now it's women's health care. And this is the case where they get to decide their care instead of their own health care provider. For now, abortion remains legal in Pennsylvania. For now, abortion remains legal in Pennsylvania. I will continue to fight to protect equity, safety, and security in women's health care rights in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
From the PA 161.
I'm so proud of Delaware County tonight. I got a call asking if I was going to go to the rally in Philadelphia, and I said no, because we're organizing right here at home. And this is a hell of a turnout. out with just a couple hours notice. But we've got amazing grassroots organizers here in this county that have our back, and they will always make sure that our voices are heard. So thank you for your leadership in organizing. There's a lot of speakers tonight, and we need to hear from everyone, but here's what I have to say. I was in a budget briefing today when we got the news of this decision. We head back to Harrisburg on Monday, and we've got folks on the other side of the aisle who are probably going to try to hold up our state budget and funding to our schools and to our healthcare systems and our hospitals over this issue. We will be ready to fight back, and we're going to ask you to do the same. For me, Roe v. Wade was decided before I was born. And there are entire generations of women who have never actually had to worry about our reproductive rights because the Supreme Court protected them until now, until today. And I am angry, and I am sad, and I am thinking of all the women who sat in my legislative office across the table from me telling me their abortion stories, about the pregnancy that they learned about where the fetus they were carrying would die upon birth. This law, in about half the states in the land, will force women to carry pregnancies that are not viable and not wanted. It is cruel, it is harmful, and we need to do everything we can up and down the ballot to fight back. So thank you for coming out today.
I just wanted to really quickly say thank you again to all of our elected officials who came out. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. Seriously, you guys are on the front lines for your constituents, for the community, and for people's rights. Thank you. Next up, I do have Amanda Capoletti, SDPA 17.
Good evening, everyone. I am Senator Amanda Capoletti. I am the co-chair of the Women's Health Caucus. And the former Director of Policy for Planned Parenthood. What happened today was an egregious attack on equality and equity all across this nation. You heard the fears of Representative O'Mara, who's carrying a little girl right now in her stomach. You heard Rep. Curry talk about the impact that that's going to have on Black and brown communities. We are not second-class citizens, and that's what they're trying to make us. You guys know we need Josh. You heard Mary Gay talk about that. We need Josh to be our governor. But let me tell you something. Josh needs a legislature that he can work with. We have a majority party that is trying to pass a constitutional amendment that says that there is no right to abortion care here in Pennsylvania. Governor Wolf, Governor Shapiro, they can't stop that. The only thing that stops that from happening is changing what the General Assembly in Harrisburg looks like. So like Jen said, organize. Get behind a candidate. Flip a seat. We have an opportunity because we have fairer districts this time around. We won't go back. We won't do that for you, Jen, or your little girl. We won't do that for any of you here. We will make sure that abortion care continues to stay legal. Because remember, it is legal here in Pennsylvania. That hasn't changed. And we won't let it. Thank you.
Next up, we have the State Senator Tim Kearney from the PA 26th District and State Rep Mike Sabell from PA 163.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I'm Tim Kearney. I represent the 26th District. In the State Senate. I would point out that my colleague John Kane is here with us as well, over with his dog on the side. So it's about time that an old white guy get a chance to talk to you, because old white guys, we're the ones who are supposed to actually decide what's best for women's bodies. That's apparently what I've been told. Well, not this old white guy. I'm a proud member of the bicameral Women's Health Caucus in Harrisburg. I just want to speak real briefly about what we're up against. I mean, we are constantly playing defense in being in the minority. I sat for a year and a half with Doug Mastriano's desk right next to mine. I used a lot of hand sanitizer. So, between the constitutional amendment, which is an end around that the Republicans keep trying to do when we have a governor, between that and the bills, there's 40-some bills, I think, that we're fighting off that all deal with reproductive rights and with basically with women's bodies. It's nuts. It's crazy, and we don't want to do it anymore. I mean, we're going to do it, but we want to get to a point where we can actually get on the offensive and really pass laws that actually make sense for people in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we can't do that without your help. We can't do that with you going out and canvassing, going out and talking to people, going out and flipping more seats, going out and making a difference in Pennsylvania. So to that end, I'm a tall guy. On my back, I have a list of canvasses that are coming up soon. So you don't have to talk to me, but you can come up and look at my back and see where you can actually be helpful and get something done in the next couple of weeks. With that, I'd like to introduce Mike Zabel from Drexel Hill.
Hi, everybody. Is this working? Hold it up. Hold it up? Okay. I'll be honest. I was certainly planning on being here. Can everybody hear me? But I felt a little conflicted about speaking because you really need to hear from another male legislators. Hold it up. Hold it up. Better?
Mike, other side.
Other side.
Oh. All right. So my first problem is, thank you for your pity clap. I'll be honest, I felt very conflicted about speaking because I didn't think right now that people needed to hear from another person who looked like me. But as I thought about it, there is something I wanted to share with you. I mean, I could talk about how when I flipped the seat, became the first legislator for the 163rd in 4 decades to cast votes for reproductive rights. But that's not what I want to tell you about. I think it's clear to all of us the path that we have in front of us, the battle that we have in front of us, and it's going to require a broad coalition of people, including people like me. So what I'll tell you is my own background and when I vote and how I make decisions, and I won't go too long, I promise. My wife is adopted. Her birth mother made a choice. We had our 2 children later in life. We made a choice when to bring our children into the world. And I'll tell you something I've never told a group of public, and certainly in public before, and I'm going to be careful how I say this because I want to respect the privacy of someone that I cared very much about, but there was a point in time where my partner and I made a decision to have an abortion. And it was a life learning lesson for me. It was a lesson where we talked about it, but it was always very clear whose choice it was, that it was hers to make, but it's something I think about every single day. And I think about and respect, and I would certainly not be your state representative. I would certainly not have my children or be where I was if those choices hadn't been made. And that's what this is about. What you heard in all 3 of those instances, the adoption, the children, and the decision to have an abortion, all of those were choices. And that's what this is about, the right to make your choice. And I'm a lawyer. I can go on and on to you about why this decision was flawed and why they shouldn't have done all that, and I see that 30 seconds. But there's a sign right here, women's bodies are more regulated than guns. So let's just be clear, because this is where I get pissed. The Supreme Court has become a conservative council of policymakers. They are not a body of judges and justices. The rights they like, they expand. The rights they don't like, they contract. We have to fight that. That's going to require a coalition of men, women, and the majority of Americans who support reproductive rights. And I will be right there with you. Thank you.
Give one more round of applause for all of our elected officials who are on the front line, truly doing everything they can. Moving off of elected officials, let's talk directly to some people that are going to really face the ramifications. I'm calling up Emily Cheston. They are an OBGYN at Bryn Mawr.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Cheston. I'm a practicing OBGYN. I didn't have anything prepared for today. I was called about 6 hours ago and asked if I was available, and my dear husband agreed to bring our 2 children here so that I could talk for a few minutes about my personal experiences as an abortion provider in Pennsylvania. I spoke here approximately 9 months ago. I was 3 months postpartum. I was going back to work and I was going to start caring for patients again. At the time, I think we collectively knew there was a clear and present threat to Roe v. Wade. I never imagined in the span of 9.5 months since SB 8 went into law in Texas, our entire nation would be facing the same future. How ironic, 9.5 months since the most draconian of anti-choice forced birth laws went into effect, millions of people are finding themselves residing in states where the extremely personal, complex, and important medical decision making between them and their physician has been stripped away from them.
We thank you.
The timing of this decision isn't lost on me. I'm a former collegiate athlete. I was an NCAA rower, and I reflect on how this month marks the 50th anniversary of Title IX, a 37-word piece of legislation that enabled millions of girls and women to gain confidence and skills in sports, to enter elite academia, to climb to higher leadership roles. 50 years later, and I look at my daughter's future, and I fear we are on the precipice of falling backwards far faster than we rose. We won't go back. This morning, I received several texts from friends and family concerned about me and how I was doing. My answer was the same. My patients, by and large, will be okay. Yes, it is sad and enraging if come this fall a Republican takes over the governor's seat and I have to send my patient with a new diagnosis of a lethal anomaly to a colleague in New Jersey. If I have to instruct a terrified 20-year-old college student on how to get mail-order mifepristone. But they will find a way to get the care they need. But what about the patients that won't be able to? What about the dozens of women I met at Planned Parenthood of Southeastern Pennsylvania who had to take a day off of work to come for their pre-abortion counseling and a 24-hour mandatory waiting period, who had to take a second day off to come have their procedure, who struggled to find the money, the child care, and the loss of income to do this? What about the women who live hours into the center of this state, who cannot just get on a train and go to New Jersey and pay for their care? I fear for them, and I cry for them. I also fear for myself and my family. Some days I fear that speaking at events like this will lead to threats against my office, or my family, or worse, physical violence. Some people say rallies don't matter. I hope that's not true. I hope each of you can go home and talk to your friends and family, your neighbors, and get out the vote. Today, we mourn. Tomorrow, we get mad as hell.
Thank you again, Emily, and thank you for all the work that you do. Next up, we have Davita Graham, a nurse in Upper Darby and a public health advocate.
Hello. My name is Davita Graham. I'm a nurse practitioner. I had to write it down because I too was notified last minute, but had to be here. I'm a nurse practitioner, a wife, a mother, a black woman, an activist. I woke up this morning in what I still consider the land of the free until I was informed the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. I stand here today with my two daughters, broken and angry, but never ready to be silenced. Now more than ever, it is time to set aside minor differences and unite as a collective. Today is a sign that as a nation, we are moving in the wrong direction, backwards. As a mother, the goal has always been to create better for your children, and that includes the country that we call home, the United States. As a nurse practitioner in an already stressed healthcare system, the implication of overturning Roe v. Wade sparks another level of anxiety for me. COVID-19 revealed to everyone the cracks in the U.S. healthcare system. Lack of access, lack of health equity being a few. Maternal outcomes for minority women are already poor with limited solutions on the table. It's a given that these numbers will now worsen across all ethnicities. The U.S. has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country. And 3 out of 5 of those deaths were preventable. The numbers will increase. Criminalization of those seeking abortions and those assisting with abortions to access will also become a major result of this decision. Voting in November has never been more imperative. November is key. We must all do our part because all of our freedoms are on the line now. We feel the sting of the slap of today, but we can't sit back and be stripped of our civil liberties. This is not the time to give up. It's the time to organize, the time to fight. I reiterate, November is our hope. Voter registration efforts, ensuring public political literacy, church outreach, even on the side of the road if we have to. Loud and collective. Although a sad day, we regroup, unite, and get back to work. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Next up, we have Julia Vales from the Domestic Abuse Project.
Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. All right, well, first off, I want to say that reproductive rights are human rights. As the Executive Director of the Domestic Abuse Project of Delaware County, I also want to say reproductive rights are victim rights. In the United States, 1 in 4 women are victims of domestic violence, which is a pattern of coercive behavior used by one person to gain power and control over another in an intimate relationship. DAP serves over 2,500 victims annually just in our community of Delaware County alone. Today, the Domestic Abuse Project stands with victims and survivors of sexual abuse and all individuals who lost their right to choose today. The ability to make decisions about emergency contraceptive and pregnancy termination after domestic violence victimization is a crucial component of safety. These options are crucial for survivors to live independent lives free of abuse. Control and reproductive coercions are tactics used by perpetrators of abuse. Contraceptive sabotage, exposing victims to STIs, forcing sexual contact, inflicting harm with the intent of causing miscarriage, and forcing a pregnant person to carry a child to term.
Victims risk being trapped in violent relationships if they do not have access to their reproductive freedom choices. And let's not forget, homicide is the top cause of death for pregnant individuals. It is important to note, as was noted before, that our Black and brown women and other women of color bear a disproportionate burden of the lack of access to reproductive health care options. And they have been leaders in this movement for decades. Limiting access to reproductive rights is a part of these intertwined systems of oppression that deny Black, Latino, Indigenous, and other people of color access to health care and other human rights. The need to continue to advocate for broad access to reproductive health and safe abortions is an investment. It's an investment in the health and safety of all of our communities. The Domestic Abuse Project opposes any actions that limit a person's right to access sexual and reproductive health services, including abortion care. We call on lawmakers in PA and on Capitol Hill to pass legislation to make reproductive health care accessible and affordable. Unfortunately, in my line of work and the advocacy that I do, many people will die because of today's ruling by the Supreme Court, including those being abused by their intimate partners. Today, we stand for victims of domestic violence in Delaware County, across our Commonwealth, and across our nation. And we stand with every single woman that is part of this fight with us. Thank you.
And I am honored to welcome Colleen Kennedy, who has been a lifelong friend of mine and community activist, and is doing a lot of good work.
I just want to make a quick reminder to the whole group here. People of all genders benefit from abortion. Let's never ever forget that. Let's make sure that we really comprehend the political movement that we're in, because it's a lot to process. These folks who are taking away our reproductive rights these folks who believe in taking away our reproductive rights believe that states are incapable of regulating guns, but they believe that states should regulate our bodies. They believe wearing a cloth mask is a human rights violation, but they are about to outlaw contraception. They nominated rapists to the Supreme Court and presidency, and next week they will seek to outlaw gay marriage, queer relationships, and queer families. They believe Miranda rights are optional, and they believe that Donald Trump leaving office was optional. These are not legitimate forces. This is not a legitimate court. These are not legitimate laws, and unjust laws must be broken. We are re-entering en masse a world so many were already experiencing. A world where that miscarriage that you have or that abortion you have could be treated as a crime. It is worth remembering that pregnancy is 30 times more medically dangerous than an abortion. This decision is about much more than controlling our medical decisions or our economic future or our safety. It's about taking the most fundamental parts of each and every one of us and forcing us to shove that deep down where no one, not even ourselves, can find them. I will not hide and I will not comply with these laws. I will help anyone who needs abortion care to get it with whatever resources I may have, and that will never ever change. I will make sure that Republicans lose power in every election to come, and I will make sure that Democrats fight with their lives for ours at every level of government. Failure is not an option. Half measures are not an option. Are you with me? Yeah. I can hear you. Are you with me?
Next up is Ashley Dulcimore from Delco Resist, one of the lead organizers and co-founders. also one of the co-organizers of the event today.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. I don't have a prim and proper speech for you all today. I am enraged along with many of you, and justifiably so. I am tired of cis white men making decisions on women's bodies as if I am tired of cis white men making decisions on women's bodies as if they are the God that they worship. Your relationship with your God of your understanding is your business, and you do not have the right to push that into law. This doesn't start and end with biological women. Anybody who has the ability to produce, including trans and non-binary folks, will also be affected. Black and brown people in low-income areas will be affected most. People who don't have the means to travel won't be able to go where it is legal to get an abortion. People who are raped may have to be further traumatized by keeping a pregnancy they did not ask for. This can very well lead to an increase in suicide. And I ask, is this the value for life in that scenario? Is that valuing life? No! Fuck no. This isn't only about the folks who may be forced to move forward with a pregnancy that may very well put their life at risk. This isn't only about the folks who simply have the right to decide what happens with their body, because it does not end here. Our LGBTQIA+ community is in danger right now. Their rights are under attack as well. And again, black and brown people will suffer the most. Our right to contraception is soon to be under attack. The people who want to control our bodies want to control it any way that they can. They don't want us to have access to prevent pregnancies. They want to force us to carry pregnancies, no matter the effect on our physical and mental health, while at the same time denying preventative care. If that doesn't scream, I don't value you or life in general, I just want to control you, I don't know what does. And I need to add on to what Colleen said. Not only people who reproduce benefit from abortion. And so I do need to add that a lot of the folks that are against it are not against it when their mistresses need a fucking abortion. This is no longer a fear. It is happening. It has happened. We need the same energy when it is time to vote. We need to win Pennsylvania in November. Our work is to do more than rally, to take tangible action. So I hope everybody who is out here today will do the next right thing to protect our goddamn rights. We need to vote in the people who will protect everybody's rights and vote the crumbs out. That's all I have to say.
Vote them out! 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 Vote them out!
Thank you, Ashley, so much for that. And next up, we have Kayla Kacchi from Delgado Resist as well. Hello.
Okay. Hi! Everybody hear me? Okay, cool. I just said the straight. Just making sure. I don't even know what to say to this crowd. I've been standing on these courthouse steps before I could fucking vote. I am turning 20, and I've been here since 2020. I've been marching up this goddamn hill in media for over 2 years since before RBG even died. Where was this crowd then? Where were you? Were you voting? Because if you were, how did we get here? Where was this crowd? I know where Tim Kearney was. I know where Leanne Kruger was. I know where Gina Curry was. I know where so many representatives were. I know where Mary Gay Scanlon was. They were standing up here with me. But I didn't see this crowd out here. This needs to change. I don't see the young people out here. Where are you? You guys need to make sure that you are voting. I need to see more goddamn high school voter registration. I need to see more college campuses voting. I need to see more college students sending their mail absentee ballots back the hell home. If we vote like we did for Biden, this will never be an issue. I will never have to worry that Josh Shapiro is not going to be the governor because my generation won't allow it to fucking happen. Woo! I'm sorry. My parents and my grandparents' generation, you guys messed up. So guess what? 1824? Hi, hello. You're the future. You need to fucking vote. Woo! It's not a want, it's a need. So I beg you, I pray for you. I did it when I was in high school. I was the only person in Ridley High School marching out, talking to state reps. That needs to end. I need to see more of you guys out here. This is our bodies. This is our future daughters. What are we going to do about it? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. I think Kayla is pretty clear. What are we going to do this November? What are our friends going to do this November? What are we going to tell our parents to do this November? Are we going to vote? All right, just a second. Actually, next up to speak is actually myself. Which, damn, I did not know that I would have to follow Kayla, so now I'm really intimidated. I am the Vice President of UDTJ, one of the social justice organizations that helped put together today's event. Just like Ashley, I do not have a prepared speech, and I'm not going to take too much of everyone's time. I think we all expected this day to come. When it hit, it was a whole nother level. As somebody who's LGBTQ, to read that Supreme Court decision today, for this attack, it is not just an attack on one of us, it is an attack on every single one of us. And even though my generation grew up post 9/11 and came of age in a global recession in 2008, and things have been pretty traumatic for most of us, one of the few things we had going for us was that right seemed to be going in the right trajectory. I stand here today fearful for, well, not the first time in my life, but in a very long time, that our rights are going to be taken away. The ink isn't even dry yet on Oberfell. They made it very clear they're coming for that next. And if you base that on the 14th Amendment and privacy rights, it wasn't until 2003, with Lawrence versus Texas, that homosexuality was legalized just to be gay. 2003. And guess what protection that was? The 14th Amendment. Privacy rights. They will not stop. They will not turn away. And truly, I cannot stand here long enough and ask you all to please, dear God, vote. And every single one of you should be knocking doors. I do not care. Make phone calls, write postcards, do anything. Please, dear God, I will be out there with you. The time for complacency is over. This is doomsday. This is doomsday. If we lose this upcoming election, let me tell you, the Republicans, they'll get rid of the filibuster real quick, and they'll federally ban everyone's rights. Thanks, Joe Manchin. But as much as we hate Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, I do have to applaud a lot of the Democrats that are elected that are truly doing everything that they promised. They really are. And I am going to, as somebody who's done a lot of activism, I'm going to call out some of my leftists here. I am sick and tired of the purity politics. Do not preach harm reduction and not fucking vote! Because the one people trying to harm us is the Republican Party! I'm just going to leave it at that. Like I said, I don't... fucking vote, please, and thank you all for coming. Before we leave from camp, I do have one last speech from Diamond Gibbs, who is the president of UDTJ, who could not be with us today. She's currently in Philly. I don't even have the words. I've been sitting around in shock and terror all day. This week alone has been a prime example of where this country is headed, and we must act now. This is beyond reproductive rights. This is just the beginning of what we are going to be denied, what is going to be destroyed, and horrific policies that are going to be reinstated. This is not only the fight of our lives, but an important election for our rights. This is not only, or I watched my close friends walk down the aisle yesterday afternoon to unite in matrimony, a same-sex marriage. Never did it cross my mind as they were walking down the aisle that this would be a reality less than 24 hours later. Never did it cross my mind that we would circulate back to unsafe abortions, dismantling of contraception, and the increased suffering of those who are sexually taken advantage of. We know who the enemy is. The Supreme Court is powerful, and we must continue to unite and address these consistent injustices that keep targeting groups of people. Something that UDTJ said after the murder of George Floyd when we first started organizing was, Delco, wake up. Are you awake, Delco? This is the time. Wake up. We are under attack and need collective action. Reach out to your electeds, join protests and rallies, volunteer at the polls and vote, and encourage people to do the same. It's now or never. We have 5 months left. That is it. Get to work. We won't go back. 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 Whose rights? Our rights. Whose rights? Our rights. Whose rights? Our rights. Whose rights? Our rights. What are we gonna do? Vote. What are we gonna do? Vote. What are we gonna do? Vote. What are our friends gonna do? Vote. What is our family gonna do? Vote. What are we gonna do in November? Right, good. Really quickly, sorry, I know it's gone long. I'm just going to pass it off really quickly to one of the other organizers. This is the final organizer, I promise, our speeches are coming to an end. indivisible, so I'm going to pass it off really quickly.
Right side. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Many of you were here 9 months ago, and we knew this was coming. So I'm Lisa Goldstein from Indivisible, and Indivisibles, there are 5 indivisible groups in Delaware County. And what we've learned since we started as a resistance group 5.5 years ago is that winning elections is the best form of resistance. Right? And the way we win elections, the single most important factor in whether or not someone votes is a personal conversation with someone they know. Do y'all know someone else who isn't here today? You need to talk to them. Talk to them, tell them tell them your story and why voting is important to you, why reproductive health is important to you, why common sense gun regulations are important to you. Tell them why you vote and then make sure they know how to do it and make sure they get out there and do it. So we have a lot of elected officials here. Some of them already spoke. Some of them I'm going to ask them all to come up here. I need Tim Kearney's back up on these steps. I need Dave Delgado and Amanda Capoletti and Jennifer O'Mara and who am I forgetting? And Leanne Kruger and Mike Dable and Gina Curry. We need to, and we have, who else? Mary Gay Scanlon. We're going to give you all these because you're going to give these out. Because voting doesn't just happen. It happens because we knock on doors and we talk to our friends and neighbors. So this weekend, we have representatives who have canvases. They're going out door knocking. Can you believe Jennie Mara and her daughter are knocking doors this weekend? We have future state house reps like Lisa Borowski. Come up here, Lisa. Lisa is running against the last 2 Republican reps in Delaware County. Lisa has a canvass this Sunday. We have flyers. They're taped up all over. They're on Deb Siamaka. You come up here. She ran too and has it on her back. And Miss Mary Gay's volunteer coordinator. Kathy Square was just getting off an airplane when I spoke to her. She's running to replace that one other Republican state house rep. So this weekend, knock doors with Jen, knock doors with Lisa Borowski, knock doors with Kathy Square. Reach out to all of your candidates here. Google them, find their offices, campus. Every single week you can talk to another friend or neighbor and get them to vote. We all need to vote. I need Kyle to do one of those chants about knocking and voting. Come on, Kyle.
Knock them doors, knock them doors, knock them doors, knock them doors.
When women